Hello again, friends, and welcome to another VR modding tutorial slash rambling. So today we are going to profile the performance of our VR mod. We are going to do this, well, I'm going to show at least a way how it's possible for more general games, not just Unity games, but we are going to we're going to spend most of the time doing this for a mono Unity game, for Pathfinder Kingmaker, as was our previous example. So just to get this out of the way, there are ways to do this for non-Unity games, and I think the easiest one might be using Renderdoc, which is on the screen now, at least the website. This is the one that I tried to use first for Kingmaker, but I found out that it's just not working with it, which is why I will also not be covering it today. Now, another one that came highly recommended from my friends at the VR Modding Discord is Nvidia Nsight. Again, I did not use this for Kingmaker, just because it was a bit annoying to sign up for it, to be honest. Yeah, so I'm going to link both of these in the description. Feel free to try this out if you are trying to profile your VR mod. But most of this tutorial will be about using the built-in Unity profiler. Now, instructions to make this compatible are here, but first let's check it out. So I'm using my old personalized Unity project that's built to match the exact same version as the game I'm trying to mod. And you can see that at least in this version of Unity there is a window selection, analysis, profiler. There's also the frame debugger, which to be honest I have not yet checked out. You will be able to check this out yourself later, I guess. But a lot of good things are already possible using the profiler. So this is a profiler, and as you can see by default, well, if there's no game running, it won't do anything. And yes, all your information will show up here. And once your game is running, you should be able to pick it using this button here. But by default, this won't work. It won't show up in this window here, even if it's running. And this is why I am making this little tutorial today, is to show you how to make your game compatible with this frame profiler. Alright, so we'll basically be following this little guide, which will also be linked in the description, which is rather simple. So have a look at the Access Properties and Explorer. You should see the Unity version number. Download and install the correct version of the Unity editor. You should have already done this for your BepInEx stuff, for your Steam VR DLLs, if that was needed. If not, yeah, go do it right now. Alright, so once you have the correct version of the Unity editor installed, and I mean really the exact same version as the game, you will need to find some files. Let's do that right now. Let's go to our Unity install directory, Unity editor version, editor, I think it was data. Now let's see, it was playback engines, Windows standalone support. I think it was variations. Alright. Now, what you're going to do now will depend on if it's a 32-bit or a 64-bit game. For me, it's a 64-bit game, so we're going to open this folder. And now all we need to do is copy over some data. Also, like the guide says, it's important to make a backup copy of your game, or at least be prepared to have to re-download your game or lose your files or something, because we'll be overwriting some data. Now, no worries, the game will still launch and work properly if you do this correctly, I believe. At least it did so for Kingmaker. You might get other results, so don't blame me if something goes wrong. But at least for me this works, and if not, you should have your backup copy ready. Alright, so you should copy the debug build data directory. I'm going to place this here. So we're going to copy the data directory. Well, not the entire, we're going to copy it like this. To go to Kingmaker data and just copy it, overwriting everything that's in there. I've already got these files in here, so that's why it's overwriting more than it normally should. But I'm going through the steps again for you guys so you can follow along. Alright, now this will depend on what Unity version you have. So for older Unity versions it's playerwin.exe. I don't have it, I have a newer Unity version, which means copying Windows player.exe and Unity player.dll. So let's copy these as well. And these ones will have to be copied to the main folder where the normal exe is. There we go, replace it. And now we have to rename windowsplayer.exe to GameName.exe. So let's delete this one. This is a good time to make a backup of your game exe. And rename this one to the name Kingmaker. To enable .NET debugging, you have to create a file in the data directory. For me, this was already there for some reason. I don't know why, but that makes things easy. Boot.config is the one we are looking for. We can open this. I'm using Sublime Text for it. And all we need to do is add the line player connection debug equals 1, which I already did. I will do again for no reason. Alright. And now we no longer need this guide. Can go back to Kingmaker. Close this window, and now if we've done everything right, we should be able to profile our game. So to profile our game, we need to launch it first, of course, using our special .exe. I'm going to open it right now using my VR headset. Just a second, need to connect using virtual desktop again. You might notice that I've made some improvements to the Kingmaker VR mod in the meantime, mainly using doing the UI. I've improved the UI. My apologies, virtual desktop is refusing to connect at the moment. Just a minute. Anyway, I've made some improvements to the UI, once again copying Ray Cuperta's magnificent code. And the nice thing about this code is that it is very universal. So if it doesn't release something like a universal tool for it soon, I might do another tutorial about that, because it's proven to be very useful. Alright, you should now be seeing the game in action. So you can now see a little console on the bottom. This will happen when you copy your debug files and everything. You should see this too if you follow along with the tutorial. Don't mind all the errors. Alright, even in the main menu, we should be able to access the profiler, so I'm going to do that right now. And to do that, we will be going to our Unity project. We're going to open the profiler, click this button, and now you can see Windows Player. So just click it, and bam, you've got your frame profiler. So just a little explanation of what's going on. You can see your frames per second here. It's like a little graph. This is our CPU usage. I've had the fortune of being able to read the GPU information as well. I can just add it and it'll work. If you click on it here, there will be more details on everything. But Ray Cuperta told me that he hasn't been able to get the GPU usage working for one of his VR mods. So you might get different mileage out of this. Alright. Well, now that we're here, we're seeing that we're getting acceptable frames per second at least. This is also with the reprojection and stuff going on, so it's a lot smoother in a headset. And yeah, in this window you can see a more detailed breakdown of the functions that are causing your frame time. You can notice XR wait for GPU is VR stuff. So it's mostly VR stuff that's taking up the time at the moment. Well, let's get to the actual game now, where some more interesting information will be. Let's put on the headset again. So this UI hasn't changed because it's actually just a projection on a plane. But if I look here, the UI is now stuck to my head and I am able to see it much more clearly. It even follows during the loading screen, though it's jittering quite a bit. We'll definitely have to improve this for the full VR mod. Alright, now we're here. As you can see, performance here is, well, acceptable. We can always improve this, of course, using the profiler and our intuition. But I did notice, and you might have noticed as well, that in the main square performance is, to be frank, terrible. This is what we're going to profile a bit in this video, just to give you an example of how the profiler can help you improve your frame rate. And of course, there's a few ways to improve your frame rate. You can always use the in-game graphics options, which is the most obvious way of doing it. You can just set graphic settings to low, disable some features. And there's also some other ways to improve your performance that I'm going to highlight after this. But for now, as you can see, things are lagging out something fierce. It's technically playable, but I don't think anybody will want to play a full game like this. So it's profiling time. Let's get back to our profiler. Just keep our headsets on the desk, looking at some place where performance isn't too well. I'll tap out of it. And here we are, back in our profiler. As you can see, I get 15 FPS frame time for our CPU, 15 FPS for our GPU. Alright, well, let's look at our CPU breakdown and see if we notice anything important, anything we can easily fix. So I've got late behavior update, runner update. Runner is the Pathfinder, Kingmaker, logic runner. So nothing much we can do about that. Graphics process commands, that's taking a lot of time, Jesus. But here's something interesting. Physics update clock is taking a whole 30 milliseconds. 30 milliseconds of frame time, that's huge. So I remember that in Pathfinder there's an option to just disable clock physics. So normally if we do that, we're going to save a whole 30 milliseconds of frame time of our CPU. So let's go do that right now. Right, let's go to the options. As you can see, it follows my head. Settings, graphics, enable cloud physics. Let's disable this one. Let's try that again. Things are bugging out a bit at this frame rate. Alright. We disabled it. For some reason it's enabled again. There we go, it should be disabled now. For some reason I can't move my character. Oh well, let's go check if it's disabled in the frame profiler. Alright, it's still updating cloud, but no worries. I remember you just have to restart the game for this setting to take effect. So no worries, the profiler can actually be updated in real time. And speaking about updating your performance in real time, there is one very useful tool you can use to change your settings on the fly. So if you see that you're changing your graphic settings is not enough to fix your performance, then you will have to make some adjustments in your mod code. And there is one very handy tool for that. In fact, there are multiple tools for it, but I'm going to discuss the one I like most at the moment. And that is Manly Marco's RunTimeUnityEditor. So I'm going to link this in the description as well. It's very easy to install. And to use it, all you have to do is go to your game. Just a second, and there we go. And to use it, all you have to do is press F12. There we go. And you can see a runtime console here, which is very handy to input some kind of commands. But what we are interested in here now is, if I search here for camera and press enter, which will freeze the game for a bit. You can see it brings up a whole lot of cameras. You've got to figure out which camera is the main one that's being used for your scene. I think usually it's going to be main camera. And when you click it, there's going to be a camera component here and some others. So what I want to show you here is that, let's say you suspect the post-processing is taking up a lot of frame time. Usually you can just disable it right here. As you can see, the screen became a little bit darker. So you can enable, disable post-processing here, also some other stuff. But it doesn't seem to affect our performance much here, because our performance is good enough. Ah, damn it, I can't move again for some reason. For some reason this happens. This is still a work in progress mod. Oh, well, let's go check our cloud physics in the profiler. Well, a lot of things are happening here, but if you zoom out a bit, as you can see, there is no more cloud physics taking up time. Another thing that's probably very interesting is that you can just pause this, because it's a bit difficult to interpret when it's moving like this. So you can just go to record, click it to stop recording. This is an incomplete frame, we're not interested in that. You can just go to a previous frame. You can also do that here, go back one frame. There we go. So this is a complete frame with all the info we need. You can zoom in a bit. And we can go check what's causing all this time. So camera render is taking a lot of time. The UI is taking some time. Now let's try and go back to our scene that's causing a lot of problems. The town center. Fortunately, I will have to load this again. I think the autosave is in a capital square, so let's go there. And I'm going to show you something about GPU profiling, because I noticed that there's something obviously going wrong there on the GPU. Also, one last thing, another way to improve the performance of your VR mod, and something we have used for VRG in the past, is the VR Perf Kit, which stands for VR Performance Kit. I've tested it and it does pretty much nothing for this game. The performance issues are something much deeper. But if it's just something rudimentary, like the resolution is too high for your poor GPU to handle, you can always use install VR Perf Kit, which I'm going to link in the description, which should give you a noticeable boost in frame rate. Alright, so back here we're going to, as you can see, performance is not good, but a bit better now that we've disabled cloud physics. But now we're going to check what's causing this performance issue. Now, of course, if I fully knew it, I would have fixed it already. But yesterday I found out by going to GPU usage, going to player loop, these detailed settings. Let's see. For some reason this is more obvious when we are recording. So when I'm recording, let's go to player loop again. Alright, so post up, late update, finish frame rendering. Camera.render, drawing, opaque geometry, forward opaque. I'm seeing a lot of batch renderer stuff here. So, well, while this will already provide me with a hint as to what is going wrong, I can see exactly what's wrong with this batch rendering if I just scroll down. So if I go to CPU usage again, how did I do this again? I think if I just scroll down over here, no, things are going fine. By the way, you can also see that the UI is taking up like a mere 4 or 6 milliseconds, which is fine usually. I think maybe if I go to rendering, my apologies, didn't rehearse this, this is just some rambling again. But if I go to, maybe if I do some deep profiling, sadly this does not work. If I go to rendering, maybe memory, audio, video, I think it was for CPU usage. Well, we can see that a lot of time is being spent on rendering. Let's see if I can add any more profilers. I don't think so. And this is weird. Yesterday there was a setting, maybe if I go to full screen. Yesterday there was a setting aha, yes. So if I click on rendering and on this expand button, it will, there we go, yeah. So if you just click on CPU usage and expand it, there's going to be some info here using the main thread, render thread, job, the profiler here. I'm sorry, this is probably going to be for another time then, but anyway, yesterday there was a something here that showed me that I was using a lot. There it is. I'm sorry, this should be obvious. So if you go back to recording, you will see that when I go to batching, and if you remember, we had a lot of batch related things taking up time over there. We've got 88 batched throw calls for dynamic batching and a whopping almost 5,000 batches for instancing, which is 1.1 million triangles, 1.7 million vertices. So if you compare it to the dynamic batching, which is only 10k, this is, yes, a lot of course. This is way more than should be happening, I believe. I've heard people say that you only, even if you get about 100 batches, you're already having a lot. Yeah, so what we can conclude from this is that something is going wrong with the batching for instancing, and if we manage to fix this for our code, we will improve performance by a ton in this area that's giving us trouble. Now, if you're lucky, you can just disable it on runtime here, like if you disable the rendering manager or something, but sadly for me that does not help. But anyway, that gives us a nice clue on how to improve our performance. I believe that this will be all for today. Let's check. We've got the RunTimeUnityEditor. Don't need that window anymore. We've got our profiler here. I believe I've already explained everything. Let's see. Also, do keep in mind that these profiler and the whole debug configuration and stuff takes up a tiny little bit of your time, but it should still give you nice hints about where you need to optimize your stuff. Alright, so that will be all for today. If you've got any more questions, feel free to leave a comment or contact me in the Flat Screen to VR Modding Discord. And I will be seeing you guys again later.